The views expressed in the following show are of the host, the guest, and the callers. The content of the following show, its accuracy, authenticity, and the ramifications of the use or application of said content is the responsibility of those speaking and listening, not the broadcast medium.
And now, live from Chicago, here is the Black Knight of Talk Radio, James Arthur Yancic.
Well, all right. We are back. I'm your host, James Arthur Yancic, the Black Knight of Talk Radio. I've been working on a series where it's identifying the hidden obstacles in finding truth. It just came to me one day, and I started to put together the things over my life that I realized interfered with finding truth, many of which were previously thought to be truth methodology. And I want to remind you, or I want to refer you back to the first of these in this series that was called Arbitrary Absolutes. And in that, I went through a whole list of things that we just arbitrarily give it an absolute sense, so that if there is a obstacle to finding truth in that arbitrarily accepted absolute, well, it's just, you can't get past it, right? And so I'll put the links below. It's been a few weeks ago, and this one is called Distractions, identifying the hidden obstacles in finding truth. And, of course, I was distracted from doing this for many weeks. And I literally almost went again, and I just made myself do it. So I've been thinking about it for quite a while, so I have a lot in my head to go around on it. So it's not that it was too difficult. I've lived my life trying to find truth, at least in the last 25, 30 years. And I've developed methodologies, and I've been wrong, and I've improved, and I've changed. So the paradigms that I built after the first one was shattered were strong but malleable, in that I've developed methods of checking for truth, and I've had to change several things. So I found a lot of these blind spots, if you will. So in the first one's Arbitrary Absolutes. This one's Distractions. There's a lot of distractions from us finding truth. Some of them purposely distracting us. Some of them are, you get caught up in responsibilities, doing this, doing that. Some of them you don't want to face the truth because the cost of it personally is too high. Relationships, jobs, there's some morality decisions to make and so on. So you try to justify it and so on. And so I kind of put together like a master categories that you could break down, and you yourselves can think about it and put in things in your life, as I have done, that fit into these categories. And the first one it's an old one. Even by the title I use, Bread and Circuses, right? That goes back to Rome, and the leaders knew that if they kept the people with bread, food, and circuses, entertainment, it would distract them and allow them to be led. Now, when it comes to bread and circuses today, we don't have the Colosseum, and bread is a term for food, so there's a lot of aspects of bread. You have to get the food. You have to work for the food. There's things that you're doing to do it. So I'd say it's really almost two categories. One, bread. Two, circuses, in that you're trying to survive with the bread aspect. You need food, shelter, clothing. You support a family or extended family, or you have to. There's shelter. Your home has to be bought, paid for, in this world of houses being so expensive and all this. You see, you make that, then your work to pay for it. You have to do your job or business or what have you. That's the bread part of it. And, believe me, that's enough to keep you from finding truth because of what you'd have to do in your bread seeking. If you find out that there's something untrue in that process, that could affect the bread flow. And if you look at the circuses, well, heck, I mean, we have a plethora of circuses now. We, through all the normal ones like sports, let's say, entertainment, bands, whatever, however you want to do it. You have dating, meeting people, going out, having fun. Then you get into drinking and drugs, and all that is going to be a distraction from finding truth. So in the circus mode, you have a ton of things. And you'd have to look back in your life and say, okay, using that definition of a circus being some type of an entertainment that you're going for that is distracting you from time spent finding truth, both in researching and meditation, and I'll get to the meditation and all that in a bit. When you look through your lives, there's a lot of bread and circuses. It's your whole life. I mean, your whole life. And people work. I'm still working, right? I'm not able to retire as of yet. And, people work their entire life just for bread and circuses. And in between there's valid times. Now, I'm not saying, obviously spending time with your family and raising kids and you're, interacting with your spouse. Obviously, that's not a waste of time. And by doing that, you also find truths of life. When you're caring for your loved ones, you find out what are important truths, and you can actually use that environment to point out the circuses in your life, so to speak. So you see, these things aren't something to be avoided. It's to go through and learn to weed out the things that are going to distract you from finding truth. And they're often hidden behind things. And so when you have the bread and circuses, I actually have another category. I guess bread kind of fits in this, but survival. And I'm going to put in the survival category, not only is it bread, but survival is going to be like crime and war and, trying to avoid accidents in the process of working, keeping your family safe. So there's this kind of like they interlac. It's hard to give hard categories because they kind of dove into each other. But using that aspect of survival, what isn't covered, let's say, as you break down bread and circuses, survival takes up like the rest of it. I mean, and then today we have all the crime and whatnot in the streets, and you have the governments cracking down on the people, not listening to them. They're the voting or their wishes or what have you. You have the crime trying to steal your monies for buying the bread that you bred, and see what I mean? How that all kind of trickles in there. But unfortunately, a lot of times you don't really sit and think. I got to go to work, right? Well, I got to get here. I got to get here on time. I drive a truck, right? So a lot of my references, analogs are going to be, I got to get to this place on time. So therefore, I'm going to speed and put a higher risk of accident. And if I get in an accident, then there's legal aspects from that. There's harm that might be done to other people, and all of that stuff is going to take away from. It's going to be an obstacle in finding truth because now you're in jail or whatever. You know what I mean? How that stuff. This is why it sounds corny, but like traffic to me is a good judge of character. Because if you cut off people and me first and all that stuff, that's how your personality is. That's how you're going to go through life. So if you're in traffic and you're cutting people off and you're trying to sneak in and get one car ahead, that's a red flag that you should sit back and go back and look at it. Wait a minute. What am I doing here? What are the most important things of going through there? Well, you want to get there on time. And sometimes you're going to be late, but the attitude you have for other people on the road and along the way, whatever your job is. I mean, I remember talking to somebody about predation being one of the big problems in our world, and he wanted me to define what a predator was. And I said, well, as far as I understand, a predator would be somebody that would look at somebody as a resource to get what they want done or take something from them, regardless of what it means to that person. And I said, for example, if you're a salesperson and a guy's coming in for goods or services, and instead of seeing the need that they have, and ways that you can provide in goods and services for those needs within the framework of what they can afford and all that, you're trying to be a servant to how you can use your expertise to solve their need, as opposed to looking at how much money you can get out of them. I could talk them into this bigger product, this more elaborate thing. I could talk them into this type of stuff, raise the price, and then lower it. False, you could manipulate and use it. That's the difference between someone who's a predator. A predator is going to be, I know I'm going off here, but I'll go with the flow. A predator is going to be more of a type A personality. A parasite is going to be somebody who is a predator, but rather than fight you, take you on, and manipulate you or overcome you, it will sneak in there and try to get something from you here and there. So you have both of them are doing the same thing. It's just two methodologies, like passive aggressive and openly aggressive, I guess, would be the idea of it. So as you're going through your survival state, things that you do in that survival state, you have to check to see, first off, is this impeding me from finding truth, growing spiritually to be more real in the world, and also have a more real understanding of where we're going in the next step after death. Now, all my stuff I work in, I believe in God, and I work in God's principles, especially this one as taught by Jesus. So that's all woven in here. Now, if you don't go for any of that, I mean, these things could benefit you, but why bother looking for truth then? Who cares? If you're only, if you're not going to be looking for divine guidance and looking to grow into the next level, if it's just, well, we're going to be alive here for a little while, get what you can and leave, I mean, then, what's the point of even doing any of this? So all my stuff is going to have that backdrop, we'll say, to it. And as you're with the bread and circuses, survival, there's another aspect of it which does bleed in there. It was materialism. One of the biggest problems, the obstacles for learning, finding truth, is materialism, because the focus on material goods, goods, having, needing, is going to impede with your finding the truth. It's going to focus your goal, and what comes to mind is a quote from Jesus, no man can serve both God and mammon. And mammon is a hard word to define. There's many people who say, I think the best way to put that is materialism, and the worship of materialism, the worship of matter. And so if you have a materialistic goal, that's going to get in front of you trying to find the truth, because the truth is less relevant to the results of the material. You see, that's how it comes down to, is that truth has to be number one in your life. Now, I equate God and truth, right? So this is why I don't have trouble. Finding truth is number one, because if you're living in reality, if you're living in truth and reality, the harm that can be done you and do to others is minimalized. The amount of finding things that are irrelevant and not to your health or good, your growth, are minimalized. Your time that you're spending will be maximized for truth. The things that take away from it, and I don't mean, you can't sit down and relax. I'm talking about this. This is all going to be minimalized on this. So the bread and circuses, of course, is going to have material in it. Survival is going to have material in it. But materialism, to me, is that focus on the material. The ultimate for materialism is insanity, because the ultimate material is going to die. I mean, you're going to die. Your friends and loved ones are going to die. Your pets will die. The nation will die. The world will die. The solar system will die. I mean, this is a concept of it. So to focus on the material as the end result, you will lose. The guy who dies with the most toys wins. Well, he's still dead, right? As he's alive, he's thinking, I got the most toys, and the next minute he's dead, right? No toys, no nothing. So that's a big baloney. So you're talking about bread circuses, survival, materialism. Again, it's hard to take and sterilize all of those. They all intertwine, but you could see each one has a focus. Each one has a focus, and that focus, if you're at that could be taking you away from finding truth. And let me go back to bread, for example. If you're buying food, you're looking at food. If you don't care about what's in the food in terms of toxins and whatnot, is it good for your health? Do you have special health needs? All that stuff. By not focusing on the truth as you go into the bread, right, you're going to then do harm to yourself or others. And if you're not focusing in the truth as you go into circuses, you can end up, going to cockfights or something that degrade into entertainment, which is going to actually cause harm to the people involved or what have you, illegal stuff and harm. And, so you can see that in survival, again, if you have to have truth, if you don't know truth, then what you're doing to survive could kill you or harm yourself or others, or they could harm you. And the truth in materialism is to find out what material serves you in this search for truth while you're here and alive, while you're in a material body or in a material situation. What's good? Do you want to have a Maserati because it's the coolest car around, or do you need that because you're like a race car driver or something? You know what I'm saying? You can buy a stereo equipment, to me, is another thing I do. And stereo equipment you can buy, like if as much money as you can come up with, there's stereo equipment that you can buy. Speakers, $100,000, $200,000, turntables, $100,000 for just a record player, turntable. I mean, all that stuff. So the question is like, do you really appreciate the fidelity coming from the equipment, or is it the materialism of owning it? And of course, can you afford it? So now you're in debt, or you have people, you're neglecting your family because you buy. You see how it's kind of something. It's kind of, it's kind of straightforward, and you would say like it's kind of obvious. You're probably listening, going, I know. But you have to actually look into your life to see, are you actually doing this? Are you falling into the hidden traps in your life as you look into these things? And I have. I do. I know this. I'm hands in the air. This is not me sitting here as some kind of a self-righteous boob preaching how wonderful I am. I've done all this. I've seen all this errors in my life. And what I do with this show, and have been doing it for years, is simply sharing information. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not berating you for what you do. I'm just giving information. This is what I have found. It either works for me or it exposed something that I had to change, and I'm sharing the information. The last thing on this list I got is your mind. Your actual mind is an enemy to finding truth. Now, we can dovetail back to the last episode I did with Arbitrary Absolutes, meaning that your mind believes certain formulas which aren't true, but you accept them and you live your life by them, and it causes harm to you or others. But your mind is very interesting. I've even had people say that they've described the devil as your mind, when they look at it in a more philosophical type of a bigger picture. And there's some points to this. Your mind can get to you. Now, let me break down a couple things in your mind. Like, I'm going to count fear in your mind. Now, there might be a physiological, biochemical aspect for the fear, and I'm not going to be splitting hairs on here. I just want to kind of put it all together in there. So your mind, you could be afraid of doing something that would lead to the truth. You could be afraid of the truth because if what I believe isn't true, then something else is. Oh my gosh. I might be wrong, or I might be devastated, or I might lose position, status, equipment. You lose your life, your health. I mean, so there's a lot of people with their mind. The fear of truth, in and of itself, would be one of the biggest deterrents for finding truth. And quoting Jesus, learn the truth because the truth will set you free. Because the actual truth of the matter is reality is what you're striving to find, because reality can't be thwarted. When reality comes knocking, there's no effort on reality's part. When you have a lie, it takes effort to perpetuate the lie. It takes energy. It takes methodology. Or to avoid the truth, it takes effort to avoid it. Truth is just there. Reality is. Discovering reality is you will be able to find truth if you want to find it, because reality just exists. Now, if you don't see a certain thing, like you didn't know that this particular lake, I don't know, has some kind of poison minerals in it, I don't know, whatever, and so you're drinking it and you're getting sick. The truth of it having the minerals means you don't drink it and you don't get sick. And that's an easy one, right? Your mind's going to go like, fine. But eating a lot of the food with the poisons and stuff in it, you like the taste of it, you got the habit of it, a lot of it works on you, the sugar or what have you starts to get to your brain. And now your mind is telling you, like, hey, I need this fix. I want this food. I want this drug. I want this sex. I want these things, because your mind now likes the biochemical reactions from it, and it'll get in the way of finding truth. This is harmful for you. This is not good for your soul. It's not good for your development for your later positions after you're in the material. Your mind will drive you. Talk about materialism. Your mind could be the mechanism driven for materialism. Your mind is like a machine that when it's programmed to go a certain way, it has this energy and self-perpetuating drive. Now, once you come to enough truth to counteract that drive, this is where you have this existential night of, night of the soul, or whatever, the dark night of the soul, when you have to make the decision that your mind is wrong and you turn inner to your soul, your spiritual aspect of it. That's a lot of times people get broken, and it's messy, causes a lot of trouble, but that's the time when you switch from your mind to your soul. And your mind is it's a tool. It's great to have. It's not like you shouldn't use your mind. It's not like you have faith and no mind. That's not it. Your mind is a tool to work with you. And if you're committed to finding truth and you're committed to a love-based thing, as such as Jesus taught, you're committed to that, your mind's a tool to help you with that. You have to kind of pull the reins in on your mind, and there's methods to do this. If I could find it, I'll put a link to it. Of course, I'll probably forget, but you could search through the old archives. Neil Slade was on here years ago, who had this little visualization that he would do, and he guaranteed that you either laugh or smile at a particular point. It didn't tell you what it was, didn't tell you the point, but he says you will laugh or smile. And he went through this visualization, he got to that point, and of course I chuckled. And it wasn't because it was a funny joke, it's because in this visualization, he used it to switch from your lower mind to your higher mind using the visualization process. And in that point, you went from the lower mind, which would be fear, hatred, all this stuff, up to the higher mind, which would be love, creativity, visualization, all these things. So by learning these things, you can actually tame your mind, use it as a servant, as a friend, as a good thing, as a tool. It's like what's happening in the world with social media, AI, and all that. It's because people are becoming a slave to it. I got to get my, what's the phrase they use? Influencers, which I have to chuckle. Internet influencers, you have to get your clicks up, your likes up, and what can I do to do that? Well, if your goal is getting your clicks up, you better have your ethics together with these other aspects of spread, circus, survival, and all that, because you're going to end up doing anything for clicks. And then you get into the lies. And so any of these methodologies, which all tie into your mind. I mean, social media to me is one of the greatest, one of the greatest, most dangerous things we have out there because of how it could imprison your mind and imprison you in your mind. And your feelings and emotions are going to be put in this programmed box. And so when I have these lists here, I mean, I started writing out a list at first. Like I started writing out news media, politics, social media, sports, family, religion. I started writing out this way. I go, no, I don't like that list. I mean, it's a true list, but I have to go up higher. I want to get up higher into a category that shines down onto those individual things, because these other things could fit in multiple categories. Like politics could fit in your mind, survival, bread and circuses, materialism. It's a subsection of these higher, broader lights that shine down onto your life to show these things. So your mind now, not to just leave it at that and go, okay, here's your deal. I mean, to me, the most important thing on all of these is to get a handle on your mind and get yourself soul-centered. I mean, it sounds some kind of a new agey thing, but it's true. Your soul is powerful, right? But it's subtle. The way evil works, evil is in your face, punching your face, manipulating you, try to steal, kind of get it going. Good is subtle. It wants you to choose. It wants you to have, to choose the right way, but it wants you to choose, not just follow orders. So your soul is going to nurture you, but it's subtle. You have to seek it out. There's another, what was it? I don't know if it was Isaiah or, I remember it was one where they said, I went to see God, and I saw a whirlwind, but God wasn't in it, and then I saw this, and God was in it. And then there was a still small voice in the back of my head, I think, if I'm remembering right, and that was God. That's your soul is God. God comes through your soul. Your soul is from God. There's that spiritual pathway. So all this other stuff just is all noise, and it's powerful because it's living in the physical. And so if you're going to find truth, the first thing you have to do is be soul-centered. And you just can't you can't go like, okay, I'm going to be soul-centered from now on, because you fall right back into your methods, your habits, right? So one of the things you can do is your mind is very busy. I know that sometimes when I fall asleep at night, as I start to go over that edge to sleep, I start hearing a lot of chattering. I can't understand it a lot of times. It's like, and it's chattering. And I I don't know this as a fact, but I've determined, I think I'm listening to my mind working as my soul spirit is coming forward and my consciousness is focusing or switching there. You can separate them, like the noise in the mind and the quietness of the soul. And so you need to get to a quiet place. I know some people relax with loud music blasting and they're sleeping like a baby. Again, I'm not here to say there's some arbitrary absolute way to do this, but generally speaking, silence with, perhaps background like ambience, gurgling water. I mean, I had a fish tank. I used to have a fish tank. It would be bubbling, and I found it very relaxing. You can go by Rook. You can have ambient CDs. I have a friend that I met years ago. Silver Cord was his band, and they did a lot of ambient stuff where you can, and I've used them for meditations on our show. You can find that kind of stuff so that your idea is that your soul comes forward. It's quiet. It's not interfering of it. And a lot of times when people start doing meditations, guided meditations, the guide who does the meditations will give your mind something to do. Count back, count the numbers, count your breaths, breathe in, breathe out. Your mind is thinking about breathing in, breathing out. Okay, hold it. So your mind's busy doing that chore, and guess who sneaks out from behind is your soul, your spirit. And then once you get used to that, I mean, I remember doing the meditation. Maybe I should do it. I'm actually asking Jeff from Silvercord. He put together a little ambience for me, which I appreciate. I used to do meditations every week when I did the show, healing meditations. You know, a lot of people like that. I think I want to do that again, because when you do the healing meditations, and especially with a guide, it keeps your mind busy, your soul comes out. And then what happens is you can take your consciousness and put it in your arm. And all of a sudden your arm will tingle, because your consciousness is like in your arm. It's not in your mind anymore. Your mind's there, it's doing stuff, but your mind relaxes your arm, and you can do healing to your arm, your legs, or your heart, or whatever. You can do take the energy from your soul and place it into your physical body, and that's very good for relaxation, for healing, and so forth. And it allows you it allows your soul, your mind, your soul, your spirit to step forward into the leading position and start to delegate things. But it's subtle, and it's for the highest, best good, and your mind is not going to like it at all, because your mind wants to be your mind wants your consciousness all in the mind all the time. And so when your mind has your consciousness and you're looking at things, bread circuses, survival, materialism, and all that, you're using all that energy to do that kind of stuff, and it's a wasting the spiritual growth energy that will blend the person who you're listening to right now. It bonds it to your soul, the person who is going to be you later on, and it brings you with it. That's why Jesus says you don't die. Well, your body dies. It's obvious. I mean, we see that for 1,000 years. Well, what does that mean? You don't die. Well, your mind, how did I put it? The human spirit that lives in you detaches from the physical body. So, say for example, you have an injury. You have a bad arm, or maybe you even have you have a tick or some kind of physical problem. Like when you die, that stays with the body, and your consciousness moves on, right? So what you want to do is you want to practice binding the person, the human spirit in this body. You want to get it to be hooked up with the soul. Nice, right? And you could do that now, so you can actually spend time with your soul, with God, who is like the link goes from God to your soul to you, the person who's listening to me now. And you want to spend that time with that while you're alive, so that when you die, it's not this boom jolt of like, boom, now I'm yanked out of my body, And so this way you develop this relationship with your soul and God. You have that whole situation going in there, so you can have the kingdom of heaven on earth inside your situation. You can't control people around you, but you control inside your head. You can control inside your heart. You can control how you feel in it, so that regardless of what's happening out here, you can then open up the inside and bring out and fill yourself with the Spirit, and you can get through everything. You can accept your own mortality, because you're going to move on. There's not like, oh my God, I'm going to die. What's going to happen? You know what's going to happen. And again, that's why I really like what I'm not, I guess you would say I'm a Christian, but I'm a Christian in that I follow Jesus' teachings, the red letters of the Bible. Everything else is subservient and secondary to Jesus' teachings, because his goal, one of his goals when he came here was to get rid of a lot of the baloney that came over all the years and get down to the bottom line. And this is what I believe, and this is what I accept, and this is what I use as my guide on this. But because I've been doing this, I get to see all these things I'm talking about and realize how irrelevant a lot of material is, and how, proper food, health, and all this stuff is good for your body-mind connection. So you're going to have this ability to your soul to reside in a more active sense in your body. And again, distractions is what hides you from the truth. The truth is God is love, is you, your soul. It's you. You're God. You're like a little piece of God. God split a little piece off of himself and made us all, right? And so that little kernel, it's you, is a piece of God that he gave you to be you. Now, there are certain traits and all that coming from the Creator, but you have your choices to do what you wish. God wants you to choose the good way. And if you choose the bad way, you'll find out the hard way what the good way is. But you'll still find out eventually, you know. And so what all of this is supposed to do is to save you the time of having to bang your head against the wall, which we all do. I've done it, you know. I've done it for the majority of my life, actually. And it's still now. I still wake up and I go, wait a minute, how did I get here again? I got to kind of get back in there. So I'm not a good example of a success. I guess I'm a good example of God's patience. You know, that could be the fine thing. But so let me go. So again, this whole kind of thing, identifying the hidden obstacles and finding truth. The first one was arbitrary absolutes, which are things that you choose, and I'll put a link on that on there. Personal. I'll just read the notes I got here. Personal bias, cultural upbringing, education, religion, politics. That's personal bias. Then there's the source of your information. Some people take single sources. You can't do that because then you arbitrarily pick one source. You want multiple sources. You want to also listen to multiple sources from the similar bias. You want to have multiple sources from the opposing bias. You want to see why other people don't agree and check for that validity and so forth. And you also have to watch out for confirmation bias. You don't want to seek only the things that you want to hear. Conclusions omit inconvenient data. You don't want to wait out things that you don't want. So you can go back and listen to that for more detailed on it. This one I want to get into distractions. You know, the whole aspect of this is the truth will set you free. The truth in reality. I use the word reality. I mean, I hear people say, "Hey, it's your truth. You got to respect your truth." I don't like that. I don't like that phraseology because I look at truth as being an absolute. But what I try to use is your reality. Your reality might not be aligned with the reality. I mean, reality will let you know. You can. I remember watching this movie years ago, where this magician was a trickster. It's set back in the biblical times, Egypt, I think it was. Rome. That's right. So he was a magician, but he was all tricks, right? He had mechanical tricks. He pretended to fly and all this stuff. Well, at one point, he started to think, no, I could do this, right? So instead of using the mechanical flying machine, he thought, hey, I could just jump off this column and fly. Well, he didn't. So this is the idea of the reality is what is real, and you want to make your reality align with the reality. You want your truth, to use that phrase, to align with the truth, because when you find the truth, it will set you free. But the trouble is when you find truth that's not aligned with yours, now what do? You try to justify it and all that, and as you do that, you get farther and farther in a mess, and it's harder and harder to get out. So whenever you're exposed to truth, the best thing to do is accept it. Now, you want to try it out. I mean, truth is one of those things that is durable, right? You don't have to just accept it in some kind of a blind little faith thing. I mean, God, to me, I don't accept God in blind faith. I have plenty of personal experience that backs up the existence of God. For me, my experience is going to come out through my mouth, and it may not translate into something that you could use. But we all have to find out these things internally. And so that's why I do it. So wrapping up, distractions, that identifying the hidden obstructions in defining truth. I've come up to bread and circuses, survival, materialism, and your mind. And I will, now that I think about this again, I'll start working on that meditation, because a lot of people reported had some healing because we all would pray in this meditation for them, and got some good results. It was kind of humbling. Anyway, so I'll let that go. And hopefully I'll continue this as these identifying hidden obstacles and other things. And we got Less Visible is going to be coming up next week or the next week or the next. I get a lot of requests for Richard Allen Miller. He's a fun guy, brilliant. He's brilliant, and yet he's still like a kid. So he's fun and brilliant at the same time. And I'm working on some of the guests I had years ago, seeing what they're doing and bringing it forward. And if you have any requests for individual people, or if you have any questions, especially as it comes from how I've derived the truth out of Jesus' teachings and whatnot, that if you have a question of other religions and how it applies and all that, obviously any question you ask me, I'll do my best, meditate and research to come up with an answer. So it's Feet to the Fire Radio, one word, Feet to the Fire Radio at protonmail.com. And of course, you can find me in the links and Facebook and Gab, and I've been using the Telegram a lot. I have a channel where when I find interesting stuff, I just put it out there. So if you're on Telegram, you can find F2F Radio is the name, and you can go to that channel. And then when I find stuff out, I just shoot it along. So there we go. All right, we will talk to you again next time. God bless, and reach for the skies within.